poet have in common?
It's an intriguing name, but then Sparklehorse is a curious phenomenon. Setting sweet melodies against either furious or fragile arrangements, the songs of Virginian singer and musician Mark Linkous have entranced fans for a decade. With his ear for antique sounds and surreal lyrics, Linkous can appear like a visionary captured from another age. But he has illustrious 21st century admirers.
Like a psychedelic kind of fuzzy dream. Once you get into it, you know what Sparklehorse is. It's one of the few times in music when it's a good thing to know what to expect.
I mean, if you like to dance a lot, I wouldn't say you'd want to listen to Sparklehorse.
Quirky it may be, but Linkous's music has a definite American flavour. Yet he claims as a muse the very English poet and artist William Blake. I wanted to find out how Linkous first discovered Blake's work.
I guess about 15 years ago or so, I was playing in a band with some people. We just played Irish, Scottish music, and some old-time music. London was one of the songs that we played, and that's how I got turned on to William Blake.
This setting to music of London, one of Blake's most loved poems, has become a cult favourite for Sparklehorse fans.
I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow, and marking every face I meet, marks of weakness, marks of woe.
And there was something about the poem's bleak vision that struck a chord with the man from rural America.
There's talk of the chartered street near where the chartered Thames does flow. Industry was coming in and kind of knocking the life out of people,
right,
effectively.
And I guess he was trying to escape not to be in the trade of his father was a hosier. I guess all that just represented the antitheses of what he was trying to do, you know, with his art.
You come from a mining family, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were you ever going to go down that route?
They would come home from the deep mines and just be, everything was black from the coal soot, except for their eyelids and their teeth. And I knew I didn't want to do that. I thought that would be a great way to stay out of the mines if I tried music.
One of his Blake's poems is The Chimney Sweeper, and rumour has it that when you read this poem, it kind of drove you to be a chimney sweep. Is that true?
Well, before I read it, I had this wrong idea that being a chimney sweep was a very respected, regal occupation to have. And then I learned the hard way that it wasn't.
So how long did you stick it?
Well, actually, I was recording some of my first record. I was still a chimney sweep.
William Blake included the chimney sweeper in his 1789 collection of illustrated poems, Songs of Innocence. 5 years later, he published its darker companion piece, Songs of Experience. This duality could equally be applied to the Sparklehorse sound.
How do you feel that this idea of Songs of Innocence and Experience and the way that kind of Blake approached those two things kind of correlates with your own work?
The slow, sort of open, pretty, atmospheric stuff, you know, could be more hopeful and optimistic side of what I do. And the more punk, aggressive stuff could maybe be, you know, later on. He did Songs of Experience later on in life when he was, you know, obviously affected with politics and society and things like that. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath. My wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told him not. My wrath did grow.
And for yourself, is it almost like you have to do it to keep sane? Do you think if you didn't write songs, you'd actually go...
Yeah, insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah. I don't... If I wasn't able to articulate my feelings into some type of art, I think I would explode. And yeah, it's the only thing I know how to do, really. I don't want to be a coal miner, that's for sure.
The compulsive need to create art is something that Blake would have recognised. During his lifetime, he himself was considered deranged by many of his contemporaries. For some, it's the burden of being an artist.
The reason you make art, because you would probably go insane if you didn't. But just enough, because making the art kind of makes you go insane too. So it seems like there's always a fine line between the insanity that you'll purposely take on by making the art, or the insanity that descends upon you if you don't make the art. And I think Mark, like all songwriters, is stuck sort of in the boundary in between.
It's rare that you get around somebody who just is doing what they have to do because they feel like they have to. It's something not for the bills or not for, you know, the recognition as much as it's what he does.
I think Mark, you know, probably like William Blake and probably like a lot of people, you know, your art takes you where it takes you. You don't really have a lot of say in it.
Ultimately, though, despite the reverence of his fans, Sparklehorse's unique vision is likely to always remain outside the mainstream.
William Blake never, you know, got recognition really in his lifetime enough to make a living by doing his poetry and his art. And how is it for you in that sense? Are you making a decent living now from your music?
Barely. Just barely.
Do you see yourself just continuing?
William Blake died doing the only thing that I think he knew how to do, that kept him sane, you know, and able to deal with the world. And that's what I'll continue doing until I go. That's the only thing I know how to do.
I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames flow, and marking every face I meet, marks of weakness, marks of woe.
Sparklehorse on William Blake, and it was truly fascinating to meet him. You can expect Blake Mania next year to mark the 250th year of his birth. Now we've got music of a different kind. Tim Minchin is a comedian, actor, composer, songwriter, pianist.
I can have a dark side if you want me to. I can have a dark side too. I called my girlfriend up on the phone. I said, hey, good girlfriend, what's good going wrong? She said, I'm breaking it off with you. I feel as if the mama magic is gone. I said, hey baby, what you talking about? I thought that everything was just fine. She said, that's exactly the point. I just get so annoyed how you're so happy all the time. I need somebody deeper than you, someone with a little third dimension. I said, well, I can have a dark side if you want me to. I can have a dark side too. I can have a dark side. I can have a dark side. I can have a dark side. Wow! I wrote a letter to Mr. Sony, said Sony, what's going down? I got a record and I reckon it's wicked, and I think you should spread it around. Mr. Sony said, hey Tim, I quite like your work. He said it's clever and quirky, but I promise you this, you could be clever as Voltaire, but it won't get you nowhere if you want to sell discs. Clever never made no one rich. Yeah. Very much.